No matter how good you are at golf, you will choke at one point. It's basically a rite of passage. And well, if it happens at a tournament, know that it's going to be a lasting memory. Some chokes just stand out more from others. So in this video, we're going to take a look at 10 of the biggest chokes in golf history. Firstly, at number 10, we have Lorena Ochoa at the 2005 US Women's Open. Lorena Ochoa made one of the worst drives at probably the worst moment. What made things even worse for her was that she did this at a major tournament. It happened on the 8th hole of the 2005 US Women's Open. She had come back from a long way behind and was in a position to win or at the very least make a playoff. At Cherry Hills, the 18th hole requires golfers to aim towards the right, so they cut off part of the lake and hit the ball to the fairway. Unfortunately, Ochoa's drive never even made it to the ground. Yikes! Her driver landed a few inches behind the ball, creating a divot, and then flew up into the ball. The ball swerved to the left and plummeted right into the lake. Let's just say that ball did not make it back up. Next at number 9, Scott Hoch at the 1989 Masters. Everyone agrees that Scott Hoch should have really won a major championship at the 1989 Masters, but he made a huge blunder, which cost him basically everything. Hoch was one stroke ahead of Nick Faldo at number 17, but he missed a rather short par putt and slipped back into a tie. Because Hoch and Faldo's scores on number 18 were the same, they headed to a sudden death playoff. Faldo labored to a bogey 5 on the first hole of the playoff. Number 10 at Augusta National. Hoch, on the other hand, had a birdie putt and could win the Masters with just a 2-putt. Hoch made a 3-putt. His birdie putt rolled a little way past the cup, around 18 inches to 30 inches. However, Hoch's par putt was no more than 2.5 feet. In the end, Faldo hit a 25-footer on the very next hole and won the major. At number 8, Dustin Johnson at the 2010 US Open. Dustin Johnson lost the 2010 PGA Championship because of a very controversial bunker rule. The Pebble Beach was a complete nightmare for Johnson, which is why it's surprised that he actually won the last 2 PGA events held there. He was winning against Graham McDowell by 3 shots going into the round. Johnson, on the other hand, triple bogeyed the second hole and then double bogeyed the third. Johnson's final round 82 dropped him to T8, while McDowell held on to win the event. Moving on, at number 7 we have Sam Snead at the 1947 US Open. In his long and successful career, Slammin' Sam won a record 82 PGA Tour tournaments, including 7 majors, but he never actually won the US Open, and his 1947 playoff defeat was one of 4 runner-up results for Snead in the event. Snead just needed to par the last hole to win the US Open in 1939, but he triple bogeyed it. He needs a birdie to qualify for the playoff in 1947, and he snaked in an 18-footer to do so. Snead has a 2-stroke advantage with 3 holes to play in the 18-hole playoff with Lou Worsham, but he surrendered both of those shots, and the two reached number 18 tied. Snead and Worsham both reached the 18th green in 2 and faced relatively short putts of identical distances for birdies. Snead's putt was barely 2.5 feet long, and he chose to putt first. Worsham interfered and stopped play as Snead was about to putt. He wasn't sure if Snead was actually away and got a measurement to decide who should putt it first. Turns out Snead was in fact away, so Snead got another chance and missed. After all that, Worsham won anyway with his putt. For number 6, Greg Norman at the 1996 Masters. Greg Norman probably had the worst possible luck in his generation and blew a bunch of his tournaments. Norman dominated the first 3 rounds of the 1996 Masters, setting a course record with a 63 in the opening round. He led Nick Faldo by 6 shots going into the final round, but Norman's lead vanished quickly, and he never recovered from it. While Faldo was shooting a 67, Norman was shooting 5 bogeys and 2 double bogeys. Norman's destiny for failure seemed set when he hit his tee shot into the water on number 12. Norman finished with a 78 against Faldo's 67, changing a 6-shot lead into a 5-stroke deficit. Up next, Mark Calcavecchia at the 1991 Ryder Cup for number 5. One of the worst chokes ever was Mark Calcavecchia at the 1991 Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup was actually dubbed the War on the Shore because the Americans couldn't win the cup in the previous 3 competitions. Now, this wasn't really what Team USA was used to at all, since they played really well at the time. Calcavecchia was up against Colin Montgomery and Calc. It really seemed like Calcavecchia would win because he looked like he was in great shape. He was 4 up with 4 holes to play. Calc's win or even a half on either of the next 4 holes would be enough to win the cup for America, but instead, the golfer lost all 4 holes and halved the match. Calcavecchia went away from the 18th green, down into the shore, and slumped right into the sand. At this point, he was sure he'd lost the Ryder Cup for Team USA, and so were we. But he was spared from becoming a forever outcast when Bernard Langer missed a 6-foot par putt on the last hole of the cup. This halved him with Hal Irwin and allowed the United States to reclaim the cup. Now for number 4, Ed Snead at the 1979 Masters. Sam Snead has been a very consistently good player for years, and 1979 was his opportunity opportunity at a major. At first, things were going really well. He had the final round with a 5-stroke advantage and maintained the lead for the majority of the day. Keyword majority. It all came crashing down near the end with a 3-shot lead and 3 holes remaining. Snead bogeyed the 16th, 17th, and 18th holes. His par putts on 16 and 17 came to a halt just on the lip. Snead came painfully close again on the number 18. He would have earned the green jacket with the par, but with a bogey and a 76 total for the 4th round, Snead was forced to play in a playoff. For number 3, we have Adam Scott at the 2012 British Open. Adam Scott had always played consistently well, so it was kind of weird that he still hadn't won a major yet. But when he finally participated in the 2021 British Open, he might have had a chance at winning the major. But as the tournament went on, we all found the actual reason why he had never won. He literally opened by shooting 64 in the very first round. Scott started the 4th round with a 4-stroke lead and seemed to be in command throughout. Scott had a 4-stroke lead and was 5 strokes clear of Ernie Els when he stood on the 15th tee. Els, who was a couple of groups ahead, scored a birdie on the 16th to come within 4 strokes of Scott. Scott's game went downhill from there. He bogeyed the final 4 shots, while Els rebounded for a 1-shot victory with a birdie on the last. After all this in the 2012 British Open, Scott actually managed to win a major at the 2013 Masters. Guess he finally learned from his mistakes. For number 2, Phil Mickelson at the 2006 US Open. Phil Mickelson joined the 2006 US Open at Winged Foot, and intending to go for his 4th career major, the 3rd in a row. He actually almost got it, but then he went back to his older and more aggressive ways. His driver failed him all around, but he kept hitting it anyway. After his driver, his decision-making also deserted him on the final hole. As he stepped on the 18th tee, Mickelson held a 1-stroke lead. He drew the driver again after hitting only 2 fairways all day, and once again, he failed miserably. His drive striking the ceiling of a hospitality tent and bouncing into the spectator area. Later on, he shot another massive slice, but this time, it landed in a back bunker, and not even Mickelson's short game skill could save him. He double bogeyed his way out of the playoffs. After that horrendous performance, the "I'm such an idiot," yes, we can all agree on that one. Finally, at number 1, we have Jean Van de Velde, 1999 British Open. Jean Van de Velde was one of the best European golfers of his time, but even the best players have their bad moments. He is well known for his shocking collapse at the 1999 Open Championship at Carnoustie. Van de Velde required a double bogey at the 18th tee to seal the victory. A poor shot off the tee that was well off aim. Van de Velde chose the green instead of the safe shot. He struck a grandstand, bounced off the Barry Burn wall, and ended up in some awful rough. This only got worse and worse later on, when his 5th shot landed in a bunker. That's a wrap for today's video. Which one of these was the worst choke in golf history? Make sure to let us know in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button for more videos like this. We'll see you next time.